have our speaker with us, Mr. Sujit Narwade, PhD, project scientist at BNHS, and he has worked a lot in the peninsular India. And his PhD was on birds of Deccan Plateau, Maharashtra, with special reference to conservation of great Indian bustards. And he has been working with BNHS since 2004 and on several projects such as JB Maharashtra and 2011 to 17 and Rajasthan 2018 to till today. And he's also co-author of several books like Field Guide to Birds and Other Wildlife at GIB Sanctuary, Life in the Grass, Nanas and Mardi, and so on. So, and he has also issued a documentary on Great Indian Bustard and neglected ecosystems of grasslands on Deccan Plateau. And most of you are already aware of BNHS. For those who are new to it, I'll just run through what and who is BNHS. So on your screen, as you see, it is the head office of BNHS, that is Bombay National History Society. It's one of the oldest organizations working for conservation of India, and it was established in 1883. BNHS, located at Kulaba, Mumbai. And this year, it is Conservation Education Center of Mumbai, located at Film City, Goregaon. We conduct educational activities here where we impart practical knowledge of importance of environment and wildlife. And we also run these certain courses at CEC. These are leadership courses in biodiversity conservation, ornithology, herpetology, butterfly studies, and botany. Now, the admissions to these courses have already begun, and if you wish to join to any of this course, you can email us and also follow our social media handles to get the details on these courses. Now, without a further ado, I will hand over to the speaker and let's hear it from him. Dr. Sujit, sir, over to you, sir.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Sagar. And I thank CEC BNHS for giving this opportunity to connect with the people and to conduct webinar on Great Indian Bustard and Lesser Florican. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hope you are doing well in this COVID outbreak and lockdown. And there are some internet issues, and that's why I could join a little bit, late. Here, next, through this presentation, we will try to get to know about those two species depicted here, and you can see their names appearing on the screen, like Great Indian Bustard and Lesser Florican. Scientific name is Serpetus indica. So India name itself indicates there is huge responsibility of India to save these two species. And these are the species which are facing extinction in the near future because of a number of issues. So through this webinar, we will explore the things like uh, what are the unique features of this species, what are the threats to them, threats to habitat, what are the conservation measures already going on, and what the NHS is doing to do this conservation work. So many things are there, and there are around 33 slides, and we will try to get information about those two species. And I specifically kept this presentation combinedly for the species because earlier these species used to be coexist in one areas. Still they share some of the areas, but uh, over the period they had shrink. Their population has been shrink to more than 90%, and they are confined to very few areas. So Sagar, next. So before going to start with this two species, I would like to give just brief information about other bustards. So all over world there are 26 species of the bustards found, and they are little bustard with small size to cory bustard with big size. So they come in various size and colors, and they spread across Africa, Europe, and Asia everywhere. Next please. So here these are the four species of bustards found in India. three are resident ones, and fourth one, Macquis bustard, is migratory. So government of India already uh, they have prioritized the species of conservation, and all these three resident bustard species are already included into the priority list. And already there are species recovery plans prepared for these three species, and this document is published through Government of India in 2013. Uh, Macquis bustard, which is migratory to western part of India, and we will not going to talk much about this species, and our focus will be on Great Indian bustard and Lesser florican, and Bengal florican, which is the third resident species of bustard species in India, that mainly found in Tarai region and northeastern part of India, and they are mainly found in wet grassland. So we will be focusing on Great Indian bustard and Lesser florican, which are mainly found in arid and semi-arid regions. Next, please. Uh, so, what are the important features of this species? As you can see in this slide, so they have three toes, and their hind toe is completely missing. So basically, hind toe is used by the birds for perching purpose. But all these bustard species, they spend their entire life on ground. That's why we or nobody can see them perching anywhere. So that's why their peculiar feature is three toes, thick, short bill, and there is clear-cut sexual dimorphism seen in this species. Here, there is photograph of Kori bustard. You can see male and female, and similar kind of sexual dimorphism can be seen in all the bustards. Next, please. So bustard is known in culture, in different languages. This specifically Great Indian bustard, which is known by different names in different regions of country, like Godawan in Thar, in Bhilwara, Rajasthan. This is called as Garad, Malduk in Western Maharashtra, Hume in Vidarbha. So there are a number of names for this species, which itself indicates its widespread occurrence in India, but now they are confined to very limited regions. What are those areas? We will see in next few slides. Next, please. So basically, now we will try to know more about these Great Indian bustard and Lesser florican. There are two pictures shown on the slides, and we'll go one by one. So Great Indian bustard is critically endangered bird, and Lesser florican is endangered. Critically endangered bird, Great Indian bustard, is almost from 90% of its habitat. It has gone extinct, and it used to be found from northern part of Haryana to southern part to Tamil Nadu. But now it is restricted to 6 states, which we can say: Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. But uh, there are the population, or what we can say numbers in particular states, are very scary. So for Lesser florican, those birds are also found in same states, but in different regions. So what we will see in next slide, we'll see exact distribution of those birds. Next, please. Sagar, can you go 2-3 slides more? Next. Okay. Can you go next one? Next one. Okay. Twice. Next two. Yes. So these are the two maps of distribution of these Great Indian bustard and Lesser florican. So you can see Great Indian Bustard population, though they are found in various states, their population, not population actually, these are handful of birds left in uh, part of other parts of India except Rajasthan. So we will go by, these are estimation based on this, information received from concerned agencies and forest department. So basically, there are 4 5 birds in Karnataka. Kutch, there are 5 to 6 females only. Rolapadu, there are 2 3 females. In Maharashtra, there are very rare sightings now, and we assume that there are 2 3 birds left. Maharashtra, MP, there are no sighting reports recently, and there are 100 odd birds in Thar Desert, Rajasthan. So this is the situation of Great Indian Bustard. And once it was distributed all over the India in Deccan Peninsula, there are reports, in during 1820 to 1829, around 961 birds were killed by one of the British officers that time. So that's why that's how this entire Deccan was stronghold of this species. But now there are very few. Why this situation came, we will see later on in next few slides. But this is the situation right. So if we can't do anything in immediately, then this species will go extinct. There are high chances. So lesser florican, though it found in Karnataka, but in different regions in Karnataka, Velodar, in Gujarat, in Velodar and other part of Saurashtra, and Rolapadu Wildlife Sanctuary in Andhra Pradesh. In eastern part of Maharashtra, Vidarbha, there are few males sighted over there. Here I would like to clarify the figures which have been given for Great Indian Bustard are number of individuals, but the lesser florican numbers what we had given in the slides are number of males, because it's very difficult to detect the females of lesser florican. So there are very few birds left. If we have to calculate number of birds in lesser florican, so basically there is ratio has been assumed that 1:1 ratio is there, female male female ratio. So there are recently in 2017 we conducted one pan India survey, and the estimation was around 300 to 100 males. So basically, next. So now we will see how these birds look like. And this species specifically known for their majestic display. And you can see over here, so adult Great Indian Bustard, how it display, its typical display photograph given here. So basically male become in breeding season, its neck becomes snowy white, and it's inhale the air into its gular pouch, and it just move in such a way that like dancing bird. And while lesser florican, its display is typical jump. So around 10 to 15 feet jump can be seen, vertical jump. In Bengal florican, actually there is bell-shaped jump. So lesser florican jump is typical display, and while jumping, we can hear a sound. And this, many people think that this is call of the bird, but that is not actually the call. It's actually the sound produced by wings, and it makes sound like tur. So that tur comes from this wings. Size of these birds, definitely you can see over here. Great Indian Bustard is more than meter size, and lesser florican is like hen size. So next please. So females here, you can see Great Indian Bustard female. It's smaller than its male, and typical, its neck is not snowy white, and it's gray color, and its black color on head never reaches to its eyes. So that is the difference between male and female. While lesser female, it's entirely different, and because male is like black and white color during breeding season, but male loses its breeding plumage after monsoon season, and in non-breeding season, it's very difficult to distinguish between males and females. In case of lesser florican, the female is slightly bigger than the males, and great Indian bustard, it's usually lay one egg and rarely two eggs per year. And lesser florican, there are 3 to eggs per nest, we can say, and they nest on ground itself. And their nest is not like constructed one. It's just saucer size. Just they lay their eggs on their land. Next. So bustards, they have very strong site fidelity. So they do visit their breeding grounds regularly, and they start establishing their territories. So we can see two males, fighting with each other for claiming their territories. And this is kind of lake system, which we call it as. So number of males, they will be displaying in one breeding area, and female can choose the one. And there are preferred display sites, and there is fighting for this highly, or what we can say, territorial fighting is observed at particular areas, like in Nanaj. It was, alpha male claimed that particular territory for more than 10 years. So this is kind of territorial fight can be seen before establishing the territory. Next. So basically, after breeding season, this great Indian bustard, they can be seen in flocks, but these flocks are, male flocks are different and females flocks in different. But in the case of lesser florican, they cannot be seen in flock, so they are always solitary. And in 1980s, when BNHS team conducted long-term program in various bustard sites in particularly Shokliya area of Rajasthan. 15 adult males were seen together, and in Rolapur there were 24. Now, if we consider the current population, the 24 and 15 are considerable population. Specifically in lesser florican, again, as I told you, this non-breeding males and females looks like similar during non-breeding season, and they are very shy as compared to great Indian bustard. So in non-breeding season, it's very difficult to locate these floricans, and that's why it's very difficult to assess their population in non-breeding season. Next. So this is how actually this drawing or sketch itself shows basic habitat requirements by this bustard species, bustards and florican, and fits to them. So basically, these birds are very highly specialized birds, and they do require very they do require very specific microhabitats. Like they need some highly elevated area for display. There is some grass cover for laying eggs. So their resting areas different. They need to do dust bath, so they need kind of loose soil somewhere. So they need very small microhabitat for different purposes, so different activities, and that's why they need a huge stretch of land for their survival. But slowly, before 3-4 decades, the situation was different. But nowadays, all this land is crisscrossed by various developments. as you can see here, roads are crossing the landscape. There are power lines coming up. There are windmills, solar power plant, number of things happening like mining, everything. So basically, what happening there is another threat coming up like free ranging dogs. So we'll talk about free ranging dogs later on. But this particular sketch shows that how this entire landscape uh, got fragmented and leads to habitat loss, and that's why the population of these birds gone down from a few hundred birds, or we can say 1,000 birds, to now few few birds like 100 odd birds in case of great Indian bustard, and around 1,000 birds in Western Oregon. Next, please. So we will just touch some part of reproduction in these two species. So basically, male and female of great Indian bustard come together only for mating, and unfortunately, there is no parental care by males. So the entire responsibility of uh, parental care is on females. That's why bustard chick is dependent on mother for almost a year. And first 3 months are very crucial because that once this great Indian bustard become adult, so it can survive on its own. But when it at the age of at the stage of chick, it's more vulnerable from any kind of threats and from these predators. And 70% mortality seen in chick, it has been reported in great bustard in Spain. So the chick phase is very much crucial for its survival. While in case of lesser florican, chick remain with the mother for a month, almost a month, and then is flight off to its non-breeding ground. So the issue is, there is no new recruitment happening in case of bustards and florican, or we can say there are limited recruitment happening. There are threats are more, mortality is more, but addition of juveniles or chicks in population is uh, what we can say is getting affected by different issues. Next, please. So food, bustard is omnivorous, but it prefers insects, especially during its breeding season, and to feed their young ones, they need soft-bodied insects. But they can eat small reptiles. They can eat some crop leaves and seeds as well. It's and there is some kind of seasonal variation in diet has been observed, and it includes, like, for example, monsoon they prefer insects. In winter they prefer like fruits like berries. So that's on. Next, please. So now come to this, egg predation. So basically, there are very few nesting areas left, and on this last few nesting areas, the number of threats are getting increased. So fox, jackal, mongoose, monkey lizard, and now these free-ranging dogs, they are major threats to bustard eggs because female has to take care of incubation, and she needs to forage as well because she needs to feed herself. So when she is on, during foraging time, the eggs is exposed for various predators. That's why this phase of nest and chicks is very crucial for their survival. Next. So we actually, our focus was earlier on breeding sites of these birds, but we were, quite in dark about their non-breeding areas. So to know the movement of these birds, there were some institutions like Wildlife Institute of India. They did some PTT studies, like satellite transmitter studies of these birds. And here are a couple of maps given here. So a study in Nanad area of Solapur, it has been given here, and it shows around 100-kilometer radius distance is covered by the tagged birds from its tagging place. While lesser florican, they can be seen covering more than 300 kilometers distance. So basically, issue is our focus is on breeding sites, but uh, since they are wild birds and they can go outside their protected areas, outside. So non-breeding season, they are exposed to many threats. So non-breeding areas are equally important for conservation point of view, because focusing only on breeding sites will not be suffice for this their conservation. Next. So we know their status in protected areas, but outside protected areas, the landscape is getting changed a lot. For example, on left side you can see uh, this Deccan was one of the finest grasslands, but now they have been changed entirely into various land use changes, and majority is land has been changed to cash crops like sugarcane. Same is in Thar Desert, because of new developments like a huge Indira Gandhi Nahar Canal. The landscape is getting changed. Like dunes, there is a huge plantations, and this agriculture is coming up around these boundaries of this canal. Next, please. So we already know these grasslands are unique. They harbor most threatened species. They are gene bank for this many grasses and crops. They provide fodder to ungulates and as well as cattle. But unfortunately, grasslands are called as wastelands, even in government records, and that's why those are very easy target for any kind of developmental projects. So there is need to change our policy to call those grasslands as wastelands, and grasslands are one of the finest ecosystems need to be preserved. Next, please. So now we are coming towards one of the major threats to this species. Though actually during last 1 decade, I spent a few years in Deccan, and now I'm working in our desert as well as in semi-arid regions of Ajmer and Bhilwara regions. And we came across few cases of hunting, and we assume that this is underreported issue because hunting takes place in remote areas, and with government there are limited resources to curb this issue, and it's really difficult to tackle this issue. There are so much complications because this is and there is coordination needed from different government agencies to stand one case of hunting and to take it to the conclusion. Uh, there is one article has been published in Hornbill issue of March 2020, specifically highlighting the wildlife hunting in vested areas. So if anybody is interested, they can see that. Next. So now it has been now in all over the world has been seen that collision of these birds with transmission lines is one of the cause for mortality in bustards. And even government of India has given guidelines and directives to underground or shift these power lines from the core breeding areas. But uh, implementation is very poor on ground. There might be some issues, but still, like for example, the bottom map which we prepared for Nana's area, and we gave these details of power lines crossing through this core area. And it was done in 2014. We gave estimation everything, and even Pune Wildlife Division, they received some funding, but due to some technical issues, due to some coordination required between different agencies, still this implementation of this is very poor on ground. Next. While conducting surveys in Solapur area, uh, we came across so many developmental projects happening in and around those core areas, and just this map is self-explanatory. So if this entire landscape become fragmented by this kind of developmental activities, and there is cumulative impact, and this cumulative impact will be detrimental to the species, and that's how this population of this bird gone down drastically, specifically in Maharashtra. Next, please. So now we are coming towards requirements. So habitat restoration, because in 1980s there was a drive for plantation of huge plantation drive. Under that, government planted Gliricidia plants in many areas, especially in the Deccan. But then realized that because of this, this particular grasslands were deteriorated. And there were some attempts done by forest department to restore some of the areas. So we have seen shown here one plot in Gangewadi of Solapur, and Prosopis juliflora, so another exotic invasive species, which is restored in Khetulai area of Faisal. So these small efforts will definitely yield into restoring this prime habitat, and this needs to be scaled up at larger scale. Next, please. So there are issues with pesticides. So pesticides pose threats, direct threats like bird eating or accidentally engulfing those pesticides can get died, as well as because of pesticide there will be impact on food availability like insects. So this issue needs to be properly studied, and it's we are actually having poor knowledge about this particular aspect. Next, please. There are around 10 busted areas which were intended in 6 states to be declared as busted areas under leadership of Dr. Salim Ali. And unfortunately, these areas where boundaries of these areas were never rationalized. So any protected area, it has core and buffer, but these areas, those were just intended, but never got rationalized, and that's why people gone against. And after 30-40 years, there is huge pressure on this landscape, and basically that's why people think that these birds are hurdle before hurdle for their development coming in their landscape. Next, please. Next, go next. Fast, fast, fast. Okay. So these are the common issues of sanctuaries. There are within, though these sanctuaries are spread across a huge landscape, there are few compartments. Actually, those are the core areas, and those are fenced areas. But still, there are land records are confusing. There are number of villages inside, villages and towns inside. But in Maharashtra, this GIB sanctuary, the rationalization has been done recently, and villages and towns got excluded. But DNP, this issue is still pending. Next, already we are running short of time. Here we can see this is the area in Rajasthan, basically in Jaisalmer. So these are the pockets where now what we can say the last refuge of these birds, great Indian bustard. Where they are surviving. You can see one pocket which is northern part of Desert National Park, where there are quite few birds, There is another population pocket which is very adjacent to Pokhran Field Firing Range. That is actually Indian Army area. That's why they are safe. And there are few birds which are surviving in boundary of India and Pakistan. So basically, they need a large stretch of land which is undisturbed, which is with minimum threats. That's why they are surviving in these three pockets. And we hope that this will be protected for longer time. Next. So challenges, like I say, that there is only northern part of Desert National Park is the area where these birds are found, but there are remaining birds. They are found in all non-protected areas, and in non-protected areas, we need support from local people, community. We need so basically, without excluding people or after excluding people, we can't do any conservation. So we need people, we need their support. And already we are working with Bishnoi community in Pokhran area, and uh, they are very pro conservationist, and we are just helping them to conserve this bird. Next, please. So here we are talking about Lesser Corican. So two maps given here. One is Velovdar National Park, which is 34 square kilometer area, and the other map is Rajasthan part, and which is mainly Ajmer and Bhilwara. So basically, this Velovdar National Park is a protected area, and this is the grassland. While this Ajmer and Bhilwara, those are mainly crop fields. So the number of birds which are surviving in small part of smaller region of this Velovdar National Park, but in the same number of birds to protect or to conserve those same number of birds in Ajmer and Bhilwara, we require huge area. So basically, we need grasslands, but they are surviving in mosaics of grasslands and agriculture. So more efforts required for protection of birds in non-protected area. Next. Uh, there are outreach programs like nature education, awareness, next community support, uh, which are needed for conservation of the species. Basically, in Ajmer area, we conducted one Kisan Chopal, that is meetings of farmers, and people are very pro-conservationists. They are into organic farming. They usually help forest department to stop the illegal hunting over there. So community is doing their best, and we just need to provide some technical support. Next. BNHS in 2013, BNHS did one policy review and submitted one document to Government of India for especially windmills. And because as per EIA, there was no requirement to conduct EIA for new renewable energy projects. But now government has decided to put EIA in certain areas, like in areas where high density of birds is there and there are some critically endangered birds, then government asked to do so. Next. So basically for this, again, the NHS suggested few guidelines to or standard measures to prevent bird collisions due to power lines, and it's been implemented in a few cases, but it needs to be taken very seriously. And this mitigation measures for this, particularly for this transmission lines collision, needs to be done at large scale, because these birds don't have time. They evolved in millions of years, but they are, their mortality is very high in recent years because the situation is become so hostile for them that unable to cope up with this current land use. Next, this is the basically end of our presentation. These are the support and collaboration. So basically, we conducted pan-India survey with help of different agencies like WI, Corbett Foundation, and various state governments. We are getting some support from Wildlife International, US Bank, and I am based in Rajasthan specifically, and we are doing some work on Great Indian Lesser Florican with help of Rajasthan government. I think that's it. We'll take few questions, and I think let's see. And if you have anybody is having any queries, and if due to time constraint, if we are not able to give sufficient information, then they can drop an email or they can call.
Thank you very much, Sujit sir, for enlightening us on the threats and mitigations on the issues of GIB and lesser fluoricans. And now I will take the questions from the participants. I'll read out and uh, so here is one thought from Ameta. It says, I know it would be weird idea to do. Instead of grounding power lines, can we cover the whole wires with some things? I don't know that will be possible or not. Just a thought.
Okay. So
I think,
basically,
yes, yes.
so we will be going like you will be asking one question and I will be answering, or you will ask all the questions all together and I will answer.
No, we'll go one by one, sir.
Okay. So basically, undergrounding is basically we are suggesting areas like the areas which are breeding sites of this endangered or critically endangered. So definitely there is need to do undergrounding. But in other areas, definitely there are reflectors or diverters. Those are installed on power lines. So that is being done, and but that needs to be scaled up. It's possible. Next question.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you enlighten us if there is any captive breeding?
Basically, captive breeding is been started, and it's basically Wildlife Ministry of India and Rajasthan government they are doing. And as per my knowledge, there are around 9 to 10 birds already are in getting reared in captivity. But our BNHS focus is mainly on in situ conservation. Because it's difficult, because unless and until we have safe habitat or the threats reduced in wild, then it's very difficult for these birds to survive in wild in future. Next.
Yes, sir. And regarding EIA, what are your thoughts on how will the EIA notification impact busted population?
Now in busted areas, government has banned any new renewable projects coming up in known distribution areas, and even in lesser florican known breeding sites, it is the ban is there, restriction is there. So I think now here after there will be no issue, but damage has already been done. But hereafter, I think it's issue. This issue has been taken care by government. Next.
Right, sir. Um, what is the main ecological importance of GIB?
Basically, GIB or lesser florican, they need a safe place for nesting, because unless and until they get some safe place for nesting and breeding, their population will not get increased. So that is the main. But actually, they need sufficient foraging places, display sites, everything. But the basic need for these birds is right now is safe breeding places. Next.
Yes, sir. And mm, what are the actions being taken on high power tension line?
Action taken
On high
for
power tension line.
already those high tension power lines coming up in these busted areas, there is restriction. But whatever existing power lines are there, and already Wildlife in India, they did some mapping, and Government of India also gave some directives that there should be some reflectors or diverters to be installed on those power lines. But unfortunately, implementation on ground, it's very difficult. And I think to cover this huge landscape, either in Deccan or in Thar, it needs huge amount of resources. So I think existing infrastructure, it will take time, but those which are coming up, new infrastructure, it is mandatory for them.
Yes, sir.
Next.
And could translocation be an option for increasing the population?
Translocation from where? So translocation from one place to other, if I am got the question correct, then translocation is not feasible, because these are very delicate birds, and they are surviving in their uh, best available habitats right now. So if something, because they got extinct from local areas, because there was something which gone against to them. So I think best way is to conserve them on existing habitats and focus on existing population. Next.
Yes, sir. So bustards are mainly seen in eastern part of India. Why do you think is it so? Is it due to influence of Arabian Sea or Thar Desert?
Eastern or western side? Western side. They are found in western side.
Western side, yes.
Basically, they are grassland birds, so they need open areas. And Thar Desert is the only place which is having less threats as compared to other grassland. So the population is human population is low, and still the habitat is available for them. And there is due to international boundaries, still the human activity is less in that area. So basically, habitat availability is the major reason. That's why birds are surviving in that landscape.
Sorry. Are there any community conservation examples for lesser flourishing other than Ajmer?
Other than Ajmer, no, right now actually, or as per my knowledge, no. Even Ajmer also, this is not what we can't say community conservation, but basically this is there are few people who are taking responsibility on their shoulder, and that's why they think that these species should get saved, and this will help uh, to save the species in their landscape. So apart from Ajmer, I don't think so there is community. In Maharashtra, there is one agency, Samvedna. So they are doing some work with Pasi Pardis, which were historically the hunters. But I think they are doing some work over there. But in Maharashtra, the population is so low, so we can't measure the success exactly. Next,
Right,
next
sir.
please.
Yes. Uh, why are floricans and bustards hunted for? Are all the
Yes.
blusters and floricans threatened?
Basically, they are known as game birds historically, and they are hunted mainly for meat and sports. Next.
Yes, sir. How will solar panels affect populations? Will it provide shelter?
No, actually, basically, these solar panels, they will definitely, when they will be installed, so that habitat is gone, basically. And second thing, their associated structures like any new renewable energy projects need transmission lines to feed that energy to nearest grid. So basically, there is cumulative impact. So basically, solar panels, they will destroy the habitat, and this associated structure, like for installing that, there is need to create some roads and everything. So basically, there is habitat loss, habitat disturbance, and this associated structure like power lines coming up.
Yes,
Next.
sir. Uh, Regarding community conservation, do you face any difficulties in convincing the locals in Florican or Busted studies? Is the administration cooperating?
Yes, yes. So basically, I will give you example in this Pokhran area. So Bishnois, they are known for their conservation attitude, and we can see this wildlife is roaming freely in their areas because historically and culturally they are attached with the conservation. So to convince those people, there is no need to convince at all. So basically, they are already convinced. They are doing their work. Only thing is to provide them, technical support to get this, landscape approach and conservation science and build. So I think people are doing their work. So we just need to do some hand holding, and definitely it will give some good results. And already we are working with these local people, and we are getting good support, specifically in Ketolai, Dholia, and Loharki villages in Pokhran. In case of Lesser Florican, it's very difficult because this population of Lesser Florican is scattered. It's not clumped at one place, and they are found in mainly agriculture fields. So without help of farmers, we will not be able to survive. And once we inform farmers that these birds are there in your land, and they visit this area like Ajmer, this Lesser Florican is known as Shubhankar or Mascot of Ajmer. So this is Shubhankar of Ajmer. So people do understand, and if there is displaying male or female, so people they do minimum disturbances in that area. So that's how people have this tendency for conservation. We just need to give orientation to them, and I think that's it. That's how people will cooperate. Next.
So is it true that GIBs are regionally extinct in Maharashtra? And if yes, are there any project going on for restoring?
Not extinct. Actually, there are reports of sighting of one bird in last monsoon. So one bird in Nanas and one bird is Varora. So extinct is very technical term. So extinct we can say when there is no sighting from last 50 years. So birds can come anytime. We have to keep habitat safe and conducive so that the birds which are stranded somewhere else, they can come to their breeding grounds. So technically not extinct from those areas, but scientifically these are not viable population. So viable population is population which can have chicks, juveniles, subadults, adults. So that kind of social structure is not there. So that's, we can say, not viable, but certainly not extinct population. Next, please.
Sir, can military protection be an option?
Obviously, because already in Pokhran area or in boundaries of India and Pakistan, so these birds are safe because already army and BSF, they are there. So their presence itself make this area safe, and I think this is the way. That's why these birds are we can say surviving those landscapes.
Okay.
Next.
Very well, sir. I think we'll take one question for the day, and later questions, if any participant has, they can write to us.
Sure.
Yes. Has there been any notifications in the policy after conservation of lesser florican after the survey in 2018?
Any policy change?
Yes. Notification in policy. Yes.
I think maybe I'm not getting the question exactly. The policy for what?
Has there been? I'll read out the question again, sir. has there been any notification in the policy for conservation of lesser florican after the survey in 2018?
No, as per my knowledge, there is no such notification. But certainly, government is putting condition for any new renewable energy projects coming up in non-breeding areas of these birds. But there is no notification as it is, or I may not be acquainted for that. Sagar.
Very well, sir. Very well. And uh, okay, we'll take one more question, sir. As Pakistan is also a range country, any idea of the number of GIVs there?
Because nobody has nobody done the surveys, but there might be some 10-15 birds, but I'm not sure. So that counterpart, I can't give exact figure, but that is assumption.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your time and the valuable knowledge that you have given us tonight. And
thanks, Sagar. Thanks a lot for hosting this webinar, and thank the entire CEC team for this initiative, and all the audience for listening me. And do drop me any email or just give a call if in case you require any information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And
thank you.
Thank you very much, all the participants. And for further webinars, do follow us on our social media handles on Facebook and Instagram. And now I'll request our host to conclude the session here. Thank you and good night.